A lot of players think that the serve is about arm speed, and it is, as long as you get the legs and the hips to set the arm in the right position. If you miss this step of sequencing, then your arm turns, instead of something to create speed, it turns into a liability. In another video, I broke down exactly how you should start your serve with your legs and your hips. In this video, we're going to finish that big picture by understanding what you should be doing with your arm and how to put it in the right position. But here's the key distinction that a lot of pros aren't talking about. Is that it's not about using your arm, it's making sure that you've loaded your arm before you use it. The arm isn't generating power, it's receiving the power. The problem isn't using your arm. The problem is actually using your arm to generate power before it's loaded. And when you do this, you create two big problems. A, your shoulder becomes weaker because you're overusing it. B, you start to injure your arm and your shoulder because you're overusing it. And to be clear, this isn't a strength issue. This is a sequencing issue. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how the arm generates power without overworking it, straining it, or muscling your serve. Your shoulder was never designed to be the engine of the stroke. When your legs and your hips aren't being used, your shoulder has to compensate. And what that does is it leads to plateaus of speed, injury, and strain on your shoulder. If your shoulder or your arm feels weak, it's because something's missing upstream. And so now the question is, why does most common coaching kind of lead us down this trap? Here's the thing, most coaches are really just trying to simplify the serve. They're trying to get less legs, less moving parts, more just you're using your arm to control the ball, but it actually breaks the system. Let's look at what research actually says. And so when we look at the percentages, your legs and hips equal 51 to 55% of the total serve power. Your shoulder leads to 40% of it. And you're probably saying, Kevin, hello, the shoulder should sound like it's the hero here. But it's one thing that they're not telling you that makes a huge difference. The shoulder only gets the 40% of that power if something loads it first. So something has to happen to actually help the shoulder get to that percentage of power that it can create. And when I'm talking about using the shoulder, I'm talking about both using the shoulder and your arm supinating. It's called long axis rotation. It has to be loaded for it to work first. Bruce Ellett, who's one of the leading biomechanic researchers on the serve, has to say, he puts it very simply and very clear.
Let me ask you a question. What percentage do you think internal rotation plays in racket speed or racket velocity at impact in the mature service action? The answer is about 40%. Now, this is going to vary clearly from person to person, but research has shown it will provide about 40% of racket velocity at impact. So you can imagine, if you take internal rotation out of the service action, where do you find this extra 40%? Some people can try and develop it in other ways, but typically this will lead to misuse and overuse injuries. Again, look at that back hip. Look how the back hip moves vertically upwards. Both hips are driven up from leg drive, but the back hip moves up higher. In other words, with higher velocity, that's vertical velocity, than the front hip for much of the action until you get near impact. And it's only then that you start to move horizontally with your trunk into the ball. This is the only way that you can effectively use internal rotation to create velocity.
So in other words, what he's saying is when the legs aren't used, the muscles are now having to compensate for not receiving that energy that helps externally rotate the shoulder. And so a lot of times coaches are talking about external shoulder rotation, which is great. They're right. It does equal 40% of the power if it's loaded properly. And it can only be loaded properly by using your legs and hips. But it still begs the question that we have to know how to use our arm. Think of your serve like a whip. The handle is your legs and your hips, while your shoulder is the tip of the whip. Now, you don't crack the tip of the whip by working harder. You crack it by going and cracking the handle harder, which transfers that energy up to the tip of the whip. So if your legs never initiate the motion to push up, then your shoulder never gets stretched to crack the whip. Now, can you crack the whip just by cracking it? Yes. But you're going to overuse it and you're never going to truly produce that 40% that you're trying to produce by using your arm the right way. And this is why most real serve speed almost feels late and not forced. Most players are trying to force it instead of having this happen as a late reaction to the energy being transferred up through to the shoulder to stretch and then extend. So there's two things that need to happen for our arm to then create this energy we're talking about. First, when we push up with our hips and our legs, this then causes a stretch in my shoulder. My shoulder acts like a rubber band. And so as it goes back, it stores elastic energy, and then that elastic energy can be returned back as free energy where we don't have to work as hard. Now here's the trick. Most players make the mistake of trying to create the stretch, so they're actually making it tighter compared to being loose and allowing your legs to create a much bigger stretch that then can be released up into the ball. Just imagine if you're throwing a baseball. You wouldn't see a baseball player trying to just throw a ball just like this. It's the same idea. What they're doing is this. They're loading up their back leg, and as they start moving their hips forward and their chest forward or torso, what happens is this shoulder gets stretched. It's the most amazing thing to see how much baseball players basically have this stretching position in their shoulder. Not because they're going back like this and trying to throw it forward, is because that initiation of the hips starts this action. And so when they throw, and if you were to throw the same thing, you're going to get this big stretch, not because I'm pulling my arm back, because my hips and my legs are initiating this, causing the stretch. Once that stretch happens, I can use that energy of that elastic stretch to then send the ball forward even faster. If you did it right now, just do the two different exercises. If I throw a ball just like this and see how far you can throw it. Not that far. But now if I initiate my hip first and cause that stretch simply allows me to get that free energy, that snapping of the energy being returned back, because we're not just using my arm, even though I'm using my arm to do it, it's because my arm is loaded. So now how can you train this so you don't have to overthink it when you're on the court? Now that you've seen this, let's start working on some progressions to get this to be something that's a new habit in your game. The very first thing I want you to do as the first progression is we're going to stand nice and tall. And all I want you to do is hold your arm up just like this. Now, with my arm here, we should feel this pretty flat up against my chest here. So what I want you to do is just simply turn your hip. Now, what we're looking for is when we turn our hips, you should have this nice little bit of lag. And so what needs to happen is with the arm needs to be loose. And start just going back and forth till you can feel this lag. In contrast, what I also want you to do is hold this really tight where it doesn't move and feel the difference, okay? And alternate between these two so you can really feel how you can start relaxing. I'm tight now. Relaxing this and letting this action of your hips start driving or having you do external shoulder rotation to have this great stretch in your arm. The second thing we're going to do is include your racket now. We're going to do that same motion, but what we're going to do is hold the racket right here. We're going to be nice and loose and let the racket move. And from here, what we're trying to do is that same action. Notice how my racket faces down. You're going to want a continental grip when you do this. And if I pull with my hip, I get the same action where the butt of the racket is pulling forward. Okay? And so if I'm here, you can see how with my racket in this position here, if I turn my hip, I get that same stretch where I'm pulling the butt of the racket. This is going to be hugely important to creating that free energy you get from the stretching of your shoulder. The next progression is reorienting our body up and now realizing what the arm has to do. So what I've talked about in the previous video is like throwing a Hail Mary. If you're a football player or you've seen a football player throw a ball really high in the air, they reorient their body going up. And so now if we have the same action, I reorient my body going up, I'm going to focus on really putting my arm in this position here. So when I drive my hip up by rotating, it drives my shoulder and my arm back. And we want to feel that. This now creates the racket drop. Instead of trying to manufacture your racket drop here, your racket drop happens because you're shifting your hip up, which stretches your shoulder. And now you get that elastic return. And what that means is this. You get a stretch here that you can then start to pull against and actually create more power. And so what I'm doing is allowing this to stretch, and then as it stretches, it's returning, and I'll pull my racket up with my arm. That's the only time. Because now that I have that stretch, I can use that contraction across my chest to then pull the racket up. And as it pulls up, it uncoils. And so something we haven't talked about that I talked about in a previous video is that we have supination in my arm, and we have long axis rotation. And so it acts as a whip. And so what this means is I'm simply coiling up my arm, almost like you're wringing out a rag. And it's so coiled that as it goes up, it starts to uncoil. And why this works is because you're getting racket head speed versus arm speed. A lot of players, when they serve, even if they have this going, they'll go like this. And you can see how the racket's moving pretty much the same rate as a hand. Compared to if I'm coiled up, my racket starts moving faster than my hand. A great way of looking at this is looking at my hand. My palm is facing inward, and as it goes up, it's going to face towards the contact and all the way around, causing the racket now to continuously move around or orbit my hand versus going at the same speed. And so this is where you want to start practicing this release, and letting the arm come up and having the snapping action at the top. Not because I'm snapping my wrist, it's because my racket is rotating with the forearm and the shoulder all around, meaning that the racket doesn't have to slow down. Now, if you're still having trouble with this, here's a really simple drill you can do. It's called the bounce down drill. Now, be careful. I had a student once who did this drill and he hit the ball perfectly, but it came back this way and it actually took his hat off. And so what we're doing is we're going to still load up the shoulder just like we did before. So as I drive forward, this is going to then create that stretch. And then I'm going to extend it and have it unravel so it makes contact here and then it keeps going. And so this is a lot of times where you see pronation. It's not something you're trying to manufacture. It's simply an effect of what we're doing here. And so we'll start off really slow, and I'm going to pull. And you can see how, not even using a lot of force here, the ball goes much faster. The incorrect way is most players do this. This is using your arm. And you can see how basically the ball doesn't go that far. So we'll do it a couple more times, and then we're going to take it to the top of our serve. So again, I'm going to load and create that stretch. You're looking for that stretch. You can hear the snap. And remember, the snap isn't because I'm snapping my wrist. It's a result of my shoulder internally rotating while my forearm comes around and the racket orbiting the hand. So now we want to do the exact same thing, but up in the air, combining all the things we talked about. Now we want that same exact snapping action in the contact. What I encourage you to do is actually take it slower and not worry about where the ball is going at first. Because when we do that, we'll start to get tight in the arm and we'll lose a lot of this natural ability to have that eccentric contraction at the top. And so remember, we're going to go through one shadow first. I'm going to drive it up. When I say drive it up, I'm driving my hips up. Now with the ball, and I'm not concerned at where the ball is going. You get a lot more pop, and you should feel like your arm isn't muscling, but it's being carried through, and then we have the acceleration. So now we're going to do our final progression where we're actually going to serve. Now the key to serving when we have this much acceleration is making sure that we're swinging up to the ball. So as we go up, we strike it and create a little bit of spin on it. Also by swinging up, it gives us higher margin above the net, especially when we're swinging this fast. And you'll find that the more you swing up and keep your head up, the more the ball's going to go in. If you find that when you're swinging and doing this action, the ball's going long, generally it's because you're swinging down or through the court instead of swinging up. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that players generally have when they're trying to transition their serve from where they're really stretching is they start initiating the elbow too early. And so what happens is they're actually trying to initiate this feeling of pulling way too early and they're using their shoulder. What you want to feel, like we were doing the baseball example earlier, is that as I start stretching, what happens is you feel this stretch between your pec and this distance between your elbow, and then it accelerates versus them getting closer. We want to keep them far away so it stretches up and not where it's coming inward. Don't confuse arm speed with muscling. And so many players want to get here and they muscle, and you can see how this is closing down versus having that stretch. And you can see how that goes up and it stays away from my chest, meaning my bicep stays away from my chest instead of pulling down here. So Bruce Elliott's research clearly states how the arm does the function after the legs loaded up. And now if you want to learn how to load up those legs the right way, your hips and legs, make sure you go watch this video.